I think you're a moth. Quiet, harmless, drawn to shiny things.
What have you done? I just thought that maybe I could help.
You're not leaving us. You're not leaving Saltburn.
I mean, this isn't the kind of movie that I think lends itself to a 20-second elevator pitch. So I'm imagining she didn't, you probably were just waiting for a script. Was that when you really got an idea of the scope of the project, or was she, giving you ideas along the way?
No, Promising Young Woman, we got more idea of what it was because she pitched us kind of the cold open. This one, it was more, hey, I've written the script, read it, and then see what you think. And that's the great thing about Emerald. She always goes away and writes it.
Yeah.
She's willing to kind of do that work. So I think she wants people who love the movie as much as she does, and she wants partners who feel the same way, to be as invested as she is.
The score, much like the movie, is all-encompassing. It's dark and funny and lush and gothic in places. Were there other places that you drew inspiration from?
The first challenge was to create the world of Saltburn. That's the thing that Oliver's trying to fit into and trying to aspire to. And one of the first ideas Emerald had for that was, she said, Anthony, I love organ. And there's not enough scores with organ. It's such a versatile instrument because it's so human. It can be very soulful and sad, which was really great for Oliver when he was kind of on his own and didn't have any friends. And then it can be very kind of awe-inspiring and gothic and intimidating, which was really great for the approach to the house. The final thing that we experimented with the organ was to subvert it into a lustful throb, which runs throughout a lot of the score. And Emerald, she loved the idea of that. It's such a, throbbing pulses are such a prevalent thing in noughties dance music, obviously as seen in the party. So she was very much kind of looking for something in the score that was a subversion of that. And we like this idea that, when everyone's distracted downstairs, still partying, when you're skulking around upstairs, in Oliver's case, trying to, peek into Felix's bathroom, the idea that there's a kind of afterglow of something that's kind of creeping through the floorboards, I think she really liked that. And so we tried it with some just synths. But I said, well, why don't we do it with an organ that it will kind of keep that that sort of universal character throughout the score. And she loved it, and it was really fun to use.
I want to go back to the amazing cast. Your character, Elspeth, she's so fascinating because she can say the most awful things. But we kind of love her. What was sort of your initial take on her? Did you sort of instantly know who this woman was?
I think I did, having sort of spent most of my life in England. I'm afraid there are quite a few Elspeths around the UK. People who've sort of chilled me with their sort of faint praise and, the things that, somebody says something, you hear it and you know that the words are complimentary, but you know that in the delivery it's definitely not a compliment. When somebody says, oh, how clever, and you know that you've done something wrong or it's not pleasing and you don't know what it is, and it's maddening and makes you feel very insecure. And Elspeth was really my chance to get back at all the people who'd never made me feel insecure. She's the person who sort of says, oh, how punctual. Yeah. And you just know that it's wrong, and you think, well, why is it wrong? It's a good thing, isn't it, to be punctual? No, you have to be 5 minutes late, whatever it is. So yeah, she was a delight to me. But it's a defence mechanism. We have to have empathy for her because it's a massive defence mechanism. It's a way that, the British upper classes avoid talking about anything serious or meaningful or emotional.
You're very good at making us care and even root for characters that maybe we shouldn't. Thinking about I Care a Lot and Gone Girl. Like, on paper, these aren't necessarily nice people, but you never treat them as cardboard villains. They're always very complex, layered characters.
I think it's important when you play someone nasty that they're still fun to watch. I remember when I was making I Care a Lot, I was living in the same city as the director, and I would go around to his flat and we would watch lots of films and work out when, what was it that made a bad character or an unlikable character fun to watch. You know, I think you want them to be entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Elspeth is very entertaining. But I don't think that's to do with me. I think that's, Emerald has written this very entertaining family. They just are. I mean, it's a very entertaining film. As well as sort of shocking and appalling. And, you know, she's written a film about desire, about all the things that we want. And, you know, sex runs through the whole film in the most, you know, dangerous and erotic way. And all our characters have a different relationship to it. I think Elspeth herself is terrified of sex. Mm-hmm. I think she's a sort of quite a bloodless creature, really. Maybe that came into your writing, I don't know. Into the scoring.
Does she have her own theme? Like each character?
I mean, there is a really important moment in the score. And actually, I think of everyone who's told me about the score, it's their favourite moment. And Rosamund had done this absolutely blood-curdling scream when she finds her son in the middle of the maze. And I was working on the cue, and I was like, this is going to, you know, once you've heard that, I have to find a way to there has to be fracture, because there's no way I can carry on the way I did. And then hearing it in the final mix, I mean, it really inspired the music very much. You know, as did, I'm so lucky I get to come to this with everyone's craft, everyone's performances kind of sort of screaming at you because it's so good, and you better not fuck it up.
And I want to talk some more about this amazing cast, and starting with obviously Barry Keoghan. It sounds like Emerald really gives her cast ownership of their roles, and they're allowed to improvise. I just spoke to him recently, and he told me like some of the things he does at the grave scene, that was an improv on the day. Was he someone who was always sort of surprising you?
You know, Emerald's so good at distilling her vision to people and having people understand the journey that she wants to go on, that I think everyone is so invested in the movie that when they start, that they feel comfortable enough that they can try things, they can push the boundaries. Or if Emerald asks you to do something, you know it's coming from the right place, and it's coming from a place that is advancing the story, or, you know, real for the character. So I think it just makes those conversations so much easier. And I think Barry is such a powerful performer, because I think it's as much about what he doesn't say as it is about what he does. So, you know, you can just leave the camera on him and, you know, you get something magic. But I think it was that element where I think there was just an incredible trust between everyone. I think, like Rosamund said, there was this kind of familial environment where, you know, everyone felt like a family, which meant people were willing to kind of go the extra mile together. And it meant we could, I think as we were shooting it in the house particularly, and trying to do it as chronologically as possible, it meant that we could react in the moment. So say scenes were feeling like they were more tense than other scenes, Emerald would, you know, add things, take things away, or realize I might need to add something there because the tension isn't quite there. So yeah, I think it all kind of stemmed from her being able to really kind of get across her vision to people from a very, very early stage.
Have you been surprised by how much people root for Oliver?
I don't think so. I think, again, I felt this when I first read the script. You know, despite some of the things that happen in it, there's certain things that feel very relatable. You know, I think a lot of people, when they first read it, go, "Oh, I'm Oliver." Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, people can really relate to his journey or his wants. Obviously, certainly not everyone goes as far as he goes, but yeah, I'm not that surprised that people kind of root for him, and I think it's the power of that ending where you feel complicit in, you know, complicit in his happiness, and that kind of, and that was something we shifted as well, where it wasn't originally a dance, it was a walk through the house. And I think, again, everyone was like, it just doesn't feel right. It feels like there should be that triumph at the end. And again, Barry was like, yeah, you're right. It feels like that's what it should be. Because I think we wanted the audience to go out with that feeling of triumph and sharing in his glory.
I think we want to identify with Oliver, because if we were in Elspeth, we wouldn't know it. You know, I don't think she's probably not the most self-aware person. But that's probably what makes her so much fun to play.
No, she's very clueless. I mean, she has an idea of herself as a very, you know, wise and benevolent soul who's seen it all and, you know, very, very caring. But actually, she misses loads. Yeah. You know, she's just longing to be absolved. She's sort of got a hunch that she's, you know, she longs to be patient, but actually she's impatient. She gets bored easily. But you know, she loves the idea of a sort of pity party. You know, she wants somebody to come in who's less fortunate that she can bestow kindness on, because that makes her feel good about herself. And I think she remains clueless to the end about Oliver's real character.
Yeah.
I think she sort of understood him in the first breath as Felix's new friend, and I don't think she really wavers from that. Even when she sees him in the coffee shop, it's somehow somebody connected to the past, somebody connected to Saltburn when it still held its magic. You know, Saltburn to her is almost, it's her whole world. You know, when she says, "You're not leaving us, you're not leaving Saltburn," it's. I think in that sentence, it's, if you do, the Saltburn will fall apart. I will fall apart. I am Saltburn. I will fall apart. And so when she sees him in the coffee shop, it's this tug on the strings to get him to come back and sort of revivify the house again.
Yeah.
It's tragic, really.
No, it really is. It's also very, very fun to watch. And I want to remind everyone, it'll actually be on Amazon Prime starting December 22nd, so you can watch it again and again. Thank you so much for being a great audience, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.